In the grand chronicle of the Second World War, certain names have become synonymous with German military prowess. When we consider the master strategists of the Wehrmacht, our thoughts almost invariably turn to figures like Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, Heinz Guderian, the father of the Blitzkrieg, or perhaps Gerd von Rundstedt, the stoic field marshal. Their careers have been exhaustively documented, their battles analyzed for generations. Yet, history is rarely so simple. Beyond the glare of these celebrated commanders, there existed a cadre of other exceptionally gifted tacticians and operational artists. These were men who, through brilliance and audacity, shaped the course of entire campaigns on the vast and brutal Eastern Front. Yet, for a confluence of reasons, their names have remained shrouded in relative obscurity. They were commanders who authored stunning victories against overwhelming odds and pioneered doctrines that are still studied today, yet they have become footnotes in the very history they helped to write. This is the story of 5 such overlooked generals. Among them is an officer who, with a single, severely understrength division, effectively annihilated a Soviet tank army. Another was a strategist so respected by his adversaries that, after the war, the United States military hired him not as a prisoner, but as a teacher, simply to comprehend how he had fought with such remarkable effectiveness. Our first subject is Hans-Valentin Hube, a man whose battlefield persona was forged in the crucible of the First World War, from which he emerged with a permanently lost left arm. This injury earned him the enduring nickname, the One-Armed General, a testament to his resilience and unyielding determination. When Germany launched its invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, Hube's 16th Panzer Division became a spearhead of the advance. His command moved with such astonishing speed and relentless momentum that the initial wartime communiques from Stalin were left in disarray, twice misidentifying the unit as it plunged ever deeper into Soviet territory. Later, during the cataclysm of Stalingrad, Hube found himself and his men encircled. As the pocket collapsed, he refused to entertain the idea of capitulation. He was flown out on one of the final transport planes to leave the doomed city, a controversial evacuation ordered by Hitler himself. In a display of incredible organizational talent, Hube then proceeded to rebuild an entire army corps from scratch within a mere 6 weeks. His leadership was not merely administrative, it was deeply personal. He was known to keep a meticulous notebook which recorded the birthday of every soldier under his command. It was his method for ensuring that if a man fell in battle, he could write a personal letter to the family. This simple act fostered a powerful bond. His troops understood that their general cared for them not as cogs in a machine, but as individuals. Morale, even in the most desperate circumstances, remained exceptionally high. His tactical acumen was so profound that American officers would later study his masterful breakout from the Cherkasy pocket in exhaustive detail. Contemporaries observed that Hube possessed a rare gift for seeing the entire battlefield with the clarity of a chess master, but with the speed and intensity of a man fueled by espresso. Tragically, a fatal plane crash in April of 1944 claimed his life. The accident denied him the opportunity to write his memoirs and secure his place in the post-war historical discourse. And so his name, once a source of terror to his enemies and inspiration to his men, gradually faded from public memory. Next is Erhard Raus, an Austrian commander who demonstrated a truly unique form of military genius, the ability to transform the Russian winter itself into a formidable weapon. In the brutal winter of 1942, Raus was tasked with defending the critical Rzhev salient. With just a single corps against the might of 2 entire Soviet armies, his position seemed untenable. But Raus saw an opportunity where others saw only peril. He gave his engineers a remarkable order. At dusk, they were to systematically flood the low-lying ground before his positions. Overnight, the bitter Russian cold worked its magic, transforming the water into a vast, glass-smooth plain of ice. When the Soviet tanks advanced the next day, their assault devolved into chaos. The armored vehicles lost all traction on the treacherous surface, sliding uncontrollably into pre-sighted gullies and ravines. There, concealed and waiting, were Raus's deadly 88mm anti-tank guns. The tactic was devastatingly effective, bleeding the Soviet armies dry and securing the front for an entire campaigning season. His methods were deemed so innovative that the German High Command circulated them in a training pamphlet titled Winter War, according to Raus. Despite this recognition within the army, Raus himself remained an obscure figure. After 1945, rather than seeking the limelight by publishing memoirs, he quietly returned to his native Austria and lent his expertise to the National Ski Patrol. When historians finally gained access to a trunk of his personal effects in 1978, they discovered a map of his great battle. On it, he had annotated a single line, "If I ever write a book, start here." But the story was never written. The page remained blank. Our third general is Hermann Balck, a man whose battlefield honors were rivaled by few, yet whose personal modesty was nearly absolute. He was one of only 27 soldiers in the entire German military to be awarded the Knight's Cross with oak leaves, swords, and diamonds, yet he was an officer who never once called a press conference to celebrate his achievements. His masterpiece of command unfolded in December 1942 near the cauldron of Stalingrad. Balck's 11th Panzer Division, a battered force of just 4,000 men and approximately 40 tanks, was given the impossible task of holding a 120-kilometer front. Conventional military wisdom dictated a static defense. Balck chose the opposite. He gathered his meager forces and attacked, driving like a razor between two enormous Soviet tank corps. He turned an enemy supply base into a killing ground, sowing confusion and panic. Over a period of 3 weeks of constant fluid battle, Balck's small command claimed the destruction of roughly 1,000 Soviet tanks. The resulting kill ratio was so staggering that it is still cited as a case study in armored warfare at military academies like West Point. Balck's guiding philosophy was simple and lethal. Speed is the best armor, surprise the best gun. His audacity was legendary. In one instance, he ordered a night march so swift and daring that his lead tanks reached a critical bridge while still bearing the recognition panels of a Soviet unit they had just overrun. The unsuspecting guards waved them through. The bridge was captured intact and then demolished before dawn, cutting off an entire enemy formation. After the war, during interrogations, US officers asked him to recount the action. He sketched the entire 3-week battle on a simple cocktail napkin. That stained piece of paper, a humble document detailing one of the most brilliant tactical feats of the war, is now preserved in the US National Archives. Yet Balck himself consistently shunned publicity, and his profound modesty ultimately cost him the fame that other, more self-promoting commanders actively cultivated. Hermann Hoth stands as one of the key architects of the Blitzkrieg, a pioneer of mobile warfare who watched from the sidelines as history awarded the laurels for his innovations to others. As commander of the 3rd Panzer Group, Hoth led his armored formations through Poland, France, and deep into the Soviet Union with a velocity that stunned the world. His men moved so quickly against such seemingly light resistance that they nicknamed the advances the Parade War. During the opening phase of Operation Barbarossa, his forces achieved a tempo that German war diaries refer to with stark simplicity as the sprint. In a span of just 14 days, he had effectively destroyed 3 entire Soviet armies. But Hoth's career is a study in contrasts. While his tactical brilliance was undeniable, post-war investigators tied him directly to command orders that facilitated the murderous operations of the Einsatzgruppen, the mobile killing squads operating behind his lines. This moral ambiguity had profound consequences. His battlefield genius earned him 8 years in prison, while the dark stain on his record bought him a lasting silence from historians. The ultimate irony of his career unfolded while he was imprisoned. A comprehensive analysis of Soviet tank production that he had authored in 1943 was captured. The document was considered so insightful that it became required reading in the military staff colleges of Moscow. While his own country progressively forgot him, his former enemies were studying his work. Finally, we arrive at Hasso von Manteuffel. Standing at just 5 feet 2, he was the smallest general in the Wehrmacht, yet he was the man who punched the largest and most dangerous hole in the Allied lines during the Battle of the Bulge. Manteuffel's 5th Panzer Army was the northern spearhead of the Great Ardennes offensive. The timetable for his advance was so breathtakingly optimistic that his demolition teams, in a fit of gallows humor, reportedly carried Christmas turkeys with them instead of extra ammunition. When the offensive inevitably began to slow against stiffening American resistance, Manteuffel improvised with genius. He rerouted his massive King Tiger tanks along primitive logging roads that were barely fit for mules, completely outflanking established American positions and very nearly reaching the Meuse River, the offensive's strategic objective. The threat was so severe that General Eisenhower later admitted the Allied headquarters sweated bullets for 48 hours. Manteuffel's leadership style was intensely personal and hands-on. He often led from the front in a motorcycle sidecar, a small and nimble vehicle that allowed him to duck beneath low-hanging branches and appear at critical points on the front where staff cars could never hope to go. After his capture, he spent 2 years in a prisoner-of-war camp in Texas. But his role there was unique. He became an instructor, teaching the fundamentals of armored tactics to the very US officers who had defeated him. One American major wryly observed, "He's half my size and twice my speed. If we had him, we'd be in Berlin by Easter." Upon his release, Manteuffel entered the West German Bundestag and became a quiet advocate for veterans' benefits, though the newspaper headlines were always captured by louder, more controversial names from the war. Erwin Rommel himself once remarked, "The battle is fought and won in the minds of men you've never met." The careers of Hube, Raus, Balck, Hoth, and Manteuffel are a powerful testament to that idea. They were commanders who reshaped battlefields, rewrote military doctrine, and achieved the seemingly impossible, only to slip back into the enveloping fog of war. It is crucial to remember their names, because sometimes history's whisper carries a message far louder and more profound than its shout. If you discovered something new in our exploration of these forgotten commanders, we invite you to join the discussion. Please comment which of these 5 strategists you believe would be the most compelling subject for a feature film. We encourage you to subscribe and activate notifications so you won't miss our next journey into the overlooked corridors of history.